Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. Leading the news, the Prime Minister and Treasurer have begun the sales pitch for Labor's budget to overhaul Medicare and deliver billions in cost of living relief. Well, locally, there's been a mixed response to last night's budget across a variety of sectors. Social services say the increase to welfare assistance doesn't go far enough to address local issues, but investments in health and energy payments have been welcomed.
A feeling of relief for energy users. Soaring prices have been causing concern, but extra support is coming.
Increase from 94,000 households to 140,000 households. That's a big increase. That's what we've fought for.
The Commonwealth and state splitting a $90 million two-year package. Households will get $250 a year until 2025, while eligible businesses can access more than $600.
Every single small business in Tasmania will be supported through energy relief.
What's pleasing is to see the federal government looking at that. They made some pretty big promises at their election.
Some warn it won't go far enough, ahead of an expected 10% price jump.
That will more than eat up the energy relief payments that will be provided. Tascos
also critical of the job seeker increase, calling it loose change.
Doesn't even buy a loaf of bread now. 120,000 Tasmanians are living on inadequate incomes and they got very little.
Tenants also shortchanged according to their union. Their figures show rents have doubled across Hobart in a week compared to what's being delivered per fortnight.
So while it will go some way to relieving cost of living pressures, it doesn't go far enough.
Local road funding also under scrutiny. The government says all projects are funded, but Liberal figures claim more than $240 million has been axed from road projects.
Does seem like they've got their priorities completely wrong. Tasmania does deserve better.
The injection of bulk billing incentives welcomed as a medicine needed for Tasmanian hospitals.
We lost a year. Thank goodness they finally woke up to themselves and lifted a finger.
That'll reduce hospital admissions, it'll reduce ED presentations. GP bulk billing has been in free fall.
The AMA, though, disappointed. Hospital funding and salaried staff wages missed out.
These guys just are nowhere near the same pay parity as what's happening on the mainland.
Unions hoping predicted wage growth will flow to Tasmanian workers.
We are acutely aware that we have been underpaid compared to the rest of the country for too long.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Lower than estimated GST payments have torn a $1 billion hole in Tasmania's finances. With the state already heading for record debt, it poses a challenge for the Treasurer with our own budget just a fortnight away.
The morning after, the budget night before, and the Treasurer's woken up with an almighty headache.
I can absolutely from the outset make it clear that our budget does have a material impact from the federal budget last night.
Jim Chalmers delivering a $1 billion blow, revising down Tasmania's share of GST over the forward estimates. Next financial year alone, there's around $250 million less.
It does appear that we're being punished for our strong economy here in Tasmania.
The state's net debt is already forecast to hit a record $4.3 billion by 2026. And storm clouds are gathering beyond then. Tasmania's yet to get a guarantee we won't be worse off under new GST arrangements.
There's no doubt that the deal that was done with the previous federal government to appease Western Australia will impact Tasmania. We know that. We knew that at the time, and that's why we argued so strongly against it.
How can Tasmania afford your ballooning record debt, this massive budget write-down, and a $1 billion stadium?
What we need is a government that has sound financial and economic and budget management.
A hit to the state's largest revenue source means the Treasurer is left with a few options. Raise the money through taxes, cut spending, or just swallow more debt. It's his job to now pick the least worst way forward.
We will be protecting economic conditions and strong public services.
A penny-pinching puzzle Michael Ferguson gets his second turn at solving in just over a fortnight's time. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
A frustrated mother is pleading for her daughter to be taken off the elective surgery waitlist. Shakota Turner's 4-year-old has been battling repeated tonsil infections for 2 years while waiting to have them removed, and she's been told the wait is 4 more years.
She can't sleep properly, she can't eat properly, she can't make a friendship group at school because most of the time she's not there because she's at home sick and she's just constantly in pain.
Over 57,000 Tasmanians are on the wait list to see a specialist. Over 8,000 Tasmanians are waiting for much needed, necessary elective surgery.
State Health Secretary Catherine Morgan-Wicks acknowledged the wait times, pointing to staff shortages nationwide. The Greens want the state government to purchase the St Helens Hospital in Hobart, which is set to close. There are plans to set up a public 3-bed mother and baby unit at the Royal Hobart to replace the 8 lost beds and other services at the facility.
We have to provide continuity of care because there's nowhere else in Tasmania for that critical, life-saving, suicide-preventing treatment that happens at St Helens.
The Premier telling Parliament purchase is not being considered as the site is not fit for purpose. 3 familiar faces are returning to the Upper House after last weekend's elections and 2 have been formally declared. Rosemary Armitage is back for a 3rd term, comfortably securing her place in the seat of Launceston. The MLC is expecting the same level of community commitment as she prepares for her next 6-year stint.
Big 6 years ahead, probably more of the same, more talking to the people, taking their voices and their opinions to the council table.
Murchison MLC Ruth Forrest has also been declared for another term. The seat of Rumney will be formalised tomorrow. The search for a missing teenager has entered its 10th day. Cheyenne Lee Tatnall was last seen around Henry Street in Launceston on Sunday, April 30. There has been no sign of the 14-year-old since. Police are keen to speak to anyone who was driving in the vicinity of the North Esk River on that night between 8 and 9 p.m. They say even one small piece of information could help locate her. Quick-thinking neighbours have sprung into action, helping a family flee their burning Waverley home. Those nearby calling 000 after hearing cries for help coming from the Magnet Street property. Crews from Launceston and Ravenswood were called to the blaze just after 4:30 this afternoon.
En route, smoke was quite visible, and on arrival, the house was going well.
Investigators are still at the scene, working to determine the cause of the blaze. Helping victims of family and sexual violence will be at the forefront of a new dedicated police command in Tasmania. Improving the response on the ground is key for the organisation as specialist officers look to tackle the scourge on our community.
Soon to be a safe space for those confronted by trauma. Construction is well underway on this Southern Arch Centre.
The environment here will be a supportive and it will allow victim survivors choice.
The facility forms part of a plan to better address family and sexual violence in the community, with the launch of a new police command designed to prioritise victim survivors.
Specialist officers that we will have as part of this command will make a massive impact in terms of keeping Tasmanians safe.
It marks an important step in identifying how officers can best respond to these types of incidents on the front line.
It's been identified that we don't have the most effective or most efficient way of doing practice within our organisation and also working with our stakeholders.
A welcome commitment for the services already inundated by demand for support.
We've gone from receiving on average about 750 referrals to our service per year to almost 2,000.
In the last reporting period from 2021 to 2022, sexual assaults occurred the most at residential locations in Tasmania. 97% of those were committed without a weapon, and the majority of victims were women.
We also believe that the new command will ensure that we're trauma-informed and that we listen and respect victims and respect the choices that they make.
All helping to protect vulnerable Tasmanians in an aim to bring more offenders to justice. Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian businesses in the south of the state are being encouraged to paint the town red as part of a campaign to embrace Dark Mofo festivities. Destination Southern Tasmania is behind the push to help activate tourism in the typically quieter months for the industry.
It's a way of welcoming the visitor into and linking them into the festival as well. So from the moment they step off the plane, with Hollyman Avenue out at the airport lit up red, with the Dark Mofo banners at the airport, they feel part of the festival.
During Dark Mofo we're really full and it really helps in June to create a month which would otherwise be pretty quiet. It's a big boost for bookings.
A number of Hobart hotels have already signed on to light up their buildings in the spirit of the event, which brings in thousands of interstate visitors. A Tasmanian couple's shared love of art and a legacy of work is taking the spotlight at the latest exhibition at the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery. Mason and Marsden showcases decades of passion, colour and craft, recognising the contributions of renowned artists David Marsden and Penny Mason. The partners in life and art have spent their years together creating and sharing their skills and passion, inspiring the next generation of local artists.
We're talking about a relationship that has been more than 50 years worth of art making and prolific art making.
It showcases the fact that we have these incredible local artists and educators that are worthy of an exhibition in their own right.
The exhibition runs until mid-July.
If booing players is out, booing umpires is definitely out, especially this weekend, as local players across the state wear green armbands to recognise their critical contribution to the game. One of the AFL's whistleblowers, Nick Foote, is back home in Hobart, running a clinic tonight at Newtown for those keen to sharpen their umpiring skills.
Like playing, there's form slumps and there's times where you're going really well and times where you need to go back and work on things. So it hasn't all been a breeze in the AFL.
We've had a big push towards increasing our women's and girls numbers involved in umpiring, and we've had some significant inroads there this year. At the moment, sitting at about a 6% increase in female participation.
AFL Tasmania is trying to boost umpire stocks to a point where officials don't need to double up overseeing reserves and seniors on the same day. Basketball now, the Launceston Tornadoes will have a shot in the arm after a disastrous weekend on the road, while the Northwest Thunder coach has reflected on Bernie boy Trey Armstrong's return to the fold. From the Thunder to college in the States and back again, Trey Armstrong's brought a suitcase of skills from basketball's home.
I feel like his basketball IQ's gone next level now and he's competed against lots of good athletes over the last 4 years.
But coach Nick Hayward still sees another growth spurt.
Lots of teams scout him heavily as a shooter, so he draws a lot of attention, and then he's just got to feel like he doesn't need to create his own shot, just let it happen.
At 3 and 5, the Thunder's been craving consistency. The next task, replacing Kai Savage, who heads to Canberra's centre of excellence from this weekend.
We need another spark off the bench now. Whoever's ready will get that opportunity.
The Tawns are ready to see Keely Frolling return after she helped the Aussies destroy basketball minnows Madagascar, Czech Republic and Israel in the World 3-on-3 qualifiers.
In 3-on-3 you play 10-minute games, but if you get to 21 you stop before. And we only got to 10 minutes once, so I think we went all the way over there to play about 18 minutes of basketball.
Not such a happy hunting ground for the Tawns, who became Casey's first scalp of the season. They barely needed height and leadership. Luckily, they'll get it when Frolling returns this weekend.
When teams do make runs at us, who's going to bring us together and keep us going forward, and I think we probably lack that a little bit.
While the Chargers women had what their coach is calling their most complete game under his tenure when they beat Nunawading by 13. Kayla Steinel's 33 points and 12 rebounds has shortened her odds for a WNBL return in the summer.
We're really pleased with how she's going, and we're just hoping that we can get her some more support as the season goes on and keep her healthy and who knows what might happen in the second half of the year.
And 4 on the trot has the men's team charging, helped in part by Zach White's seamless return from an Achilles injury, which kept him out for a year.
As Jared Bairstow said to me after the Bendigo game, he said, I've just enjoyed my favourite 15 minutes of basketball with Zach White. He's just a great player to play with. He's very team orientated and just makes us better.
Ollie Angerstein will miss this weekend against Geelong. Devon Watson is a maybe after a late injury. South Hobart is a step closer to joining soccer's second-tier competition. The club is among 26 teams making the cut to the next stage. The new national competition is set to begin next year.
Good evening. Hobart 16 degrees today. Launceston the state's top 18. Devonport and Burnie recorded 17. Launceston had the accolade of having the warmest and the coldest temperature of the day with just one overnight. Low Head and St Helens 17. Ouse, Friendly Beaches and Flinders Island all 16. Grove and King Island 14. Strawn 13 degrees. A few light showers over the west and far south today after more decent falls yesterday and overnight. The clearer skies over the north and northeast. Most of the country relatively cloud free with just some patchy low cloud over parts of WA and coastal Victoria. Tomorrow the trough and front move closer to the South Australian border as the high moves slowly to the east. West northwest winds increasing in the afternoon to 20 to 30 knots over the west and south, swells to 3 metres. Strong wind warning that'll be on from southeast Cape to Sandy Cape for those winds. Hobart tomorrow a top of 16 and mostly sunny, Cygnet okay and 16 as well, 16 the top for New Norfolk. Launceston, partly cloudy and 16, 15 for Devonport and Campbelltown, bit of frost in Campbelltown tomorrow. Possible late shower for Burnie, 14 the top, 16 for Strawn and Smithton. St Helens tomorrow, a high of 16 degrees and partly cloudy, a sunny day for Swansea, 17 the top. Fingal, a high of 15 after a pretty cool start. On Friday, fine and partly cloudy over the east, but a few showers developing elsewhere during the day. Morning fog and frost on Saturday, a fine day to follow apart from a possible shower in the northeast. And on Sunday, a similar situation, but the possible light shower might be over Burnie and the northwest. Further north and cloudy and 20 in Perth, mostly sunny in Adelaide and Melbourne, partly cloudy for Sydney and 21. Meanwhile, a shower is expected in Brisbane with 24 the high. Partly cloudy in Hobart, 11 degrees, 10 right now in Launceston, bit of cloud over Devonport but fine, and getting cooler, currently 9 degrees. A couple of cool nights ahead, Kim, but you know, who cares really?
The weather's important, Murph. Oh dear.